him and Big Ben and Antonio Brown. It's Antonio Brown who's doing this. And oh, by the way, when you make a statement, never friends, it's about my ends. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's an issue of trust. Because that's not the impression Antonio Brown gave in the past when he was seen on the sideline hugging Ben Roethlisberger. That's not the impression he gave when he called Ben Roethlisberger, when he posted 4 different pictures of him and Big Ben Roethlisberger when they were asking who his best friend was. That's not what was going on at that particular moment in time. And if you want to sit up there and make a statement like that on Twitter, which you ultimately removed that tweet, but that's after you disseminated it to millions. Here's the bottom line, Antonio Brown. You're basically saying you pretended to be friends. You pretended to be cool because you was trying to get paid. That's fine. That's reasonable. That happens in the workplace every day. But here's the flip side to all of that. How can you be trusted? Now, it may not matter because at the end of the day, we work with people every day we don't particularly like working with, we don't particularly want to work with, and we just suck it up and do our jobs. That's what we get paid to do. That's what we do. Now, we'd probably be better if we enjoyed who we were working with. We'd probably be better if we enjoyed coming to work every day. No question about that. But the bottom line is, if you're a professional, you're going to do your job. The flip side to it is that when you work in close quarters with one another, you cultivate relationships. You personalize things. You vibe with one another in a fashion that provokes and evokes personal conversations with one another. And with Antonio Brown going after Big Ben Roethlisberger this way, going after Juju Smith-Schuster the way that he did, going after Ryan Clark, our colleague here at ESPN, his former teammate, the way that he did, even though a legitimate argument could be made that those two were never friends. The bottom line is to now come back to going after Big Ben Roethlisberger the way that he did. Well, damn it, Antonio Brown, who's next? Could it be one of your teammates? It's a rhetorical question. I'm being facetious. I'm simply pointing out how somebody could think based on his actions. It's something to think about. And I think it makes him look worse than better.
You look at this situation for Zeke. From what I understand, this deal is getting done. He will be back by week 1.
At a certain point, when you say this is not working, do you wait until before the first game of the season? And if you wait before then, you're not going to play anyway.
A lot of guys will work out on their own. There's no better environment than competing every day with guys who are at your same level, who play pro football.
When you are in contract stalemates, holdouts, as one person texted me, you don't want to mess with Jerry Jones.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
29 minutes past the hour. Number 1 back here, the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, if you missed any of today's opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One, hey, what's in your wallet? Capital One N.A., member FDIC. Couple of things I wanted to get into, and I brought up T.O. and Antonio Brown. But I'm going to get to that in a second. The first thing I'm going to get to is Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Now, obviously, Kobe Bryant said some things, and, if Shaq was dedicated to the gym and what have you, we'd have had 12 effing rings. That's Kobe. And Shaq, look, damn it, he did love his Big Macs. There is no doubt about that. But Shaq was a monster. No question. But I got a bigger subject because I got a sneaky suspicion that I'm going to hear from Shaq. I got a sneaky suspicion that somewhere Shaq is looking for me. He's looking for me, John. He's looking for me. Because I went on First Take this morning and they said in their prime, who would you rather have? And my assistant, Sumatra, she's sitting up in there eating. You, Ron, your husband, a wonderful husband, somewhere along the way, I just want you to know your wife's in there eating. She eating up a storm, bro. She eating up a storm. But I digress. I know a lot of people going to look at me and they're going to go like this. Hey, Shaq in his prime, how the hell could you prefer Kobe in his prime? Ladies and gentlemen, it's simple. And if Shaq is somewhere listening, and I have no doubt he is, I meant it. Damn it. Shaquille O'Neal is the most dominant force I have ever seen in the history of basketball. I only got tapes of Will Chamberlain. I saw Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal at 325, 350 pounds is the most dominant force I have ever seen on a basketball court. But I will never, John, you listen to me, I will never, ever pick a center over a guard or a wing player. That's my personal philosophy. Sumatra know basketball. You got a problem with that? I will never pick a big man over a wing player or a guard. Because the big man needs the guard to take care of him. The guard don't need that. Michael Jordan won 6 titles with Bill Cartwright, Bill Wennington, Stacey King, Luke Longley. I mean, when you're a wing player, there's a lot of things that you could do yourself. When you're a big man, you need additional help. So, Shaq, if you someplace listening, I ain't scared of you. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Kind of am scared of my big brother right there. My big little brother. I am kind of scared. He is a big boy. He is a big boy. But I'm just saying, man. It's not an insult. I mean, everybody's so damn sensitive. I mean, I got to tell you, look, I am going to choose an elite guard or wing player over an elite big man any day of the week. I'll give y'all a perfect example. John, Samaje, everybody, look at me. Look at me when I'm talking basketball to you. John, don't hide behind a computer, man. I'm talking to you. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon was one of the greatest centers to have ever played this game. The Dream Shake, the moves, former league MVP, 2-time NBA champion. Before that, 5-slammer jammer with the Houston Cougars. I mean, this dude went to back-to-back national title games, lost them both. You understand? But still did it. NC State, Georgetown, lost them both, but still was there. Here's the deal. As phenomenal and as great as Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon was, and as much as we recognize him, appreciate him, and know how phenomenal he was he Michael Jordan? Because Michael Jordan was taken in the same draft. The greatest compliment, do y'all realize what the greatest compliment you could say about Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon? Do you know how you can validate his greatness? The Houston Rockets passed on Jordan and Sam Bowie before him to take Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, and no one in Houston ever complained. Because they know you can't teach 7 feet. They know you can't teach a boy that big with that skill set. Of course not. But you still need it. He still ain't MJ. Shaquille O'Neal is the most dominant force I've seen. Did he win the title with Eddie Jones? Nick Van Exel? Hell, when Eldon Campbell, another 7-footer, was his teammate, did he win a title? No. How about when Penny Hardaway and Dennis Scott, my brother, Nick Anderson and the crew, how about when he had them? Did he win a title? No. But when he had Kobe, what happened? When he had Dwayne Wade, what happened? I'm going to take a guard / wing player over a big man, a 7-foot bona fide center any day of the week. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest center, is the all-time leading scorer in the history of basketball. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a 19-time All-Star, a 6-time NBA champion, who is the all-time leading scorer and the only individual in the history of basketball with one unstoppable move. There is no one else in the history of basketball that had one move, and there was nothing you could do about it. In baseball, John, correct me if I'm wrong, Mariano Rivera, the split-finger fastball. You knew he was going to throw it. There's nothing you could do about it. I'm saying the split-finger cutter. I apologize. It's cutter. There was nothing you could do about it. Nothing. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, sky hook. Nothing. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has 6 rings. 5 of them came with Irvin Magic Johnson. 5. And 1 came with Elgin Baylor. The fact of the matter is, you need a guard. You need a guard. Unless you got a forward that can step away from the basket and there's a threat on the perimeter. Period. I don't care what anybody says. Kevin McHale, in my opinion, before Tim Duncan arrived, was the greatest power forward in the history of basketball. How many titles he's winning without Bird? A wing player or guard. I'm taking somebody that elite. I am taking them before a big man. So I'm not casting any aspersions on Shaquille O'Neal. I know how dominant he is and was. I get it. But do I want a guy that is completely dominant, 10 feet and in, just unstoppable? Or do I want a brother I can get the ball to from 94 feet away from the basket? Or 50 feet away from the basket? Or 30 feet away from the basket? Or 20 feet away from the basket? It don't matter where on the court I get it to him. This is not to say Kobe was better or he was more dominant than Shaq. Of course not. What I'm saying is that in the sport of basketball, a wing player that is elite can do more for you than a big man who is elite. I don't understand what the complication is. To me, anybody who knows basketball knows what I'm saying is true. I don't understand it. I don't understand the complication at all. Shaquille O'Neal was unstoppable. You could do nothing with Shaquille O'Neal. He was awesome. But an awesome big man who's unstoppable is not the same as an unstoppable wing player. It's not the same. Now, it can't be miniature like my man Allen Iverson. That's too small. And I get that. So he's going to score if he wins scoring titles, and he's going to drop buckets. But in the same breath, he's limited to what he could do. Just like I said it when the Lakers played the Sixers in the NBA Finals. Philadelphia was just celebrating. Everybody was going crazy, and they couldn't wait until the finals. And then NBC, I'll never forget it as long as I live, they did this big 2-hour-long special on the 76ers in the NBA Finals. And they asked all of these guys, and the Sixers, let's go Sixers! Boom, 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 boom. Let's go Sixers! Everybody in Philadelphia was screaming. And for some reason, they came to me for the last interview for the show. Before the game came on, and they said, all right, Steven, what you got? How much of a chance do you give the Philadelphia 76ers? I said 0. None. They're like, what? What? And I said, they said, how could you say such a thing? I said, Shaq, and more Shaq. I said, and I didn't even bring up Kobe. He's your 4th option. Shaq's the first 3. You got no chance. And then they said, are you saying that the Sixers will get swept? I said, no. AI will get you 1. I said, AI will get you 1. And I'll be damned if he didn't. He dropped 48 in game 1 when he stepped over Ty Lue. But outside of that, what happened? I said June 15th, 2001, at the Wachovia Center, the Los Angeles Lakers will be coronated and crowned as 2-time defending NBA champions. That's exactly what happened on exactly that date. See, that was the time before I got all my damn predictions wrong in the finals. Because back then, I was at the games all the time, sitting press row, and I knew all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. So my predictions were money. Now they got me in studio all the damn time. I don't get out to as many games as much as I used to. So I can't know the dirt like I did in the past until I actually see the games. Once they start playing and I'm at the finals, oh no, my ears are to the grind then. I can tell you midway through game 1 how the series is going to end. Unfortunately, they asked me my predictions before the series starts, and I haven't been there. I haven't checked. All right, who's messing around with who? All right, who's got a lover's quarrel going on? Who's distracted at home? You understand? Who can't stay off the sauce? So I know all of this stuff. Okay? These are things that formulated my predictions back in the day. But who knows? You never know. You might see me at some more games again in the future. Anything's possible. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'll get to T.O. and Antonio Brown in a second. Plus, I'll get to your calls in a minute. Stick around. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN.